So, Mr. Gann, do I need to do a formal opening as for the meeting, or?
Sure. Yes, yes, please.
Okay, all righty. Well, then, good evening, everyone, and welcome again. This is a COMAR hearing, meeting of the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners, and we will have a presentation, I know, this evening by Ms. Angela Alvarez, and then discussion and comment. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Alvarez for the presentation. Thank you.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Angela Alvarez. I'm the Executive Director of the Office of New Initiatives. I also have my staff, Lindsay, joining. Lindsay, do you want to introduce yourself?
Good evening, everybody. This is Lindsay Anderson with the Office of New Initiatives.
And we have some of our other colleagues here on the line in case we need them. So just to remind everybody, the vision and goal around this work, around the annual review, is really centered in trying to ensure that every child in our district has access to high quality educational experiences that support their learning and personal growth and puts them on a trajectory to lifelong success, so that they can do whatever they want in terms of where their dreams will take them, and that they have real leadership roles and develop in their college careers and as leaders of our community. In this review process, we always consider, and the board considers, a variety of factors. Those include academic performance, climate indicators, understanding access, quality, and distribution of school programming across the district, and ensuring that all populations are getting access to programming, as well as making sure that we all parts of the city are being served. And so we're trying to continually improve that when we make these modifications. We also look at school enrollment and school size, because that plays into the sustainability of schools, building utilization and condition, schools scheduled for closure as part of the 21st Century Buildings Plan or other changes, and then in some years, renewal. So this is an off-cycle addition to the annual review process that we shared on January 12th. That was the same night that the board voted on the prior recommendations. So we shared the recommendation around surplusing of the Winston building. We held a community meeting on January 26th. Tonight is designed for a board hearing. So for members of the community to share feedback with the board on this recommendation. Members of the community can also send written testimony directly to the board by March 5th. And the board will vote on this recommendation as well as the one for West Baltimore, which was part of the original recommendation that got postponed. So the vote on the surplus of the Winston building and of the West Baltimore building will all happen on March 9th. So for this recommendation, it's to surplus the Winston building in summer 2021 after it's no longer needed for educational purposes. So some of the considerations: Winston Middle School originally closed in 2010. Since then, the district has used that space for a variety of swing space uses. Banneker Blake Academy of Sciences was located there. That program closed in 2018. Baltimore Collegiate was located there. They're now in a private facility. And most recently, it's been used for Walter B. Carter as swing space while their 21st Century facility was under construction. Walter P. will be moving back into their space. And so it's no longer needed for educational uses beyond the end of the school year. And so tonight's hearing, and we will have public testimony. We made sure people were aware of the rules and knew how to sign up through a variety of communications, through meetings and with the school community, letters, online, using paper, a variety of sources to make sure people are aware of this opportunity. For members of the community who may have questions or want to understand more about this, you can see the official report. The board has to consider 8 factors when it comes to surplusing facilities. And so you can see the full factors in the CEO's recommendation by going to Baltimore City Schools website and clicking on school portfolio review or annual review. Either link will go to the same place. And you can also send questions to staff at annual portfolio review recommendations. And you can send feedback by email to the board at portfolio recommendations at bcps.k12.md.us in order for the board to consider it to inform. This slide hasn't been updated to inform its decision making. It must be, give me 1 second, sorry. Sorry, I didn't catch that. Sent to the board by March 5th by 5 p.m. By March 5th by 5 p.m. And we'll update this so it's updated on the slide. So we just had an error from the earlier review process in that last timeline. So with that, I'm going to let us head into the public testimony portion.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Angela. I don't know if there's any questions from the board before I proceed. Okay. We have one sign up for public comment, which was an email to be read. Give me 1 moment. Okay. Good evening. My name is Herbert Brown III. I'm a resident of the 4th Councilman District and pastor of Pleasant Hope Baptist Church, which is also located in the 4th District. I want to begin by thanking my councilman, Mr. Mark Conway, for sharing this information for tonight's meeting through his Twitter account, which is where I learned of it. On the issue of the Winston building, I've read the school closure and building recommendation report issued January 12, 2021, which recommended the facility be surplus to the city of Baltimore this summer. I do not have a strong opinion on that recommendation at this time. However, I would ask that decision makers for this and other schools in inventory give attention to the ways that you are in a position to address structural racism, even concerning decisions that on surface seem mundane and routine. In his new book, The Black Butterfly, The Harmful Politics of Race and Space in America, Dr. Lawrence Brown makes a compelling argument that Baltimore is the home of redlining in the United States. And if that be the case, then it need also be said that this very district, the 4th District, is a place where blueprints were drawn up on how to advance discrimination and oppression through housing, education, policy, and procedure. In fact, York Road remains a racial and economic dividing line where factors regarding the quality of life, such as life expectancy, household income, etc., change significantly just based on what side of the street one lives on. That said, I wonder what it could mean if the decision makers regarding this building and other buildings in the inventory of the school system consider adding a racial impact assessment to your reports. You could ask questions like, how did the recommendation before us reinforce institutional racism in the city of Baltimore or undermine it? A power analysis might ask, how did the options before us shift the balance of power to those that have been historically marginalized, or how do they perpetuate power hoarding amongst those that are already in positions of influence? I recently read that House Speaker Adrian A. Jones and Senate President Bill Ferguson are piloting a program to include racial impact statements in the legislative analysis of criminal justice bills in the Maryland General Assembly. I'm encouraged by this move and would only hope that other state and local agencies will consider similar efforts. With this kind of sensitivity in mind, I can dream a bit about how the Winston building could be occupied by a conglomerate of Black-led community groups that already have deep roots in the community and demonstrated traction regarding the missions of social uplift. With the racial impact framing, I can imagine how Winston's kitchen could be used as an incubator space and training ground for residents wishing to launch out in the culinary business. I can imagine how the auditorium could be used as a grassroots fine arts venue and youth development space. I can see the grounds being transformed into gardens to meet food security needs of the neighborhood from a position of agency and not charity. Certainly the two organizations that I lead, Readers Cross Freedom School and the Black Church Food Security Network, we've interested in being part of such a group effort. Indeed, it would take a group and public-private partnership to address the very real facility concerns. This time period, which some are calling a period of racial reckoning, beckons us, in my opinion, to shake loose from any illusion that there's such a thing as apolitical and colorblind governance. You all sit in seats of enormous power, and only pray that you will pursue every opportunity to bend the power you've been afforded in the direction of racial agency, social justice, and equity. Thank you, Reverend Herbert Brown III, Pleasant Hope Baptist Church. Back to you, Commissioner Chinya.
Okay. Ms. Alvarez, just one piece of that, just listening to the comment, it just generates a question for me is as to if you would share what the process is when the system, once there's a vote to close a school building, what happens to that building, and what are ways that people could discuss possible future use of the building?
Yeah,
The most appropriate way of doing it.
Yep. Once the board makes a vote, our planning team works with the city agencies to actually transfer the building over to the city agencies, and it's the city of Baltimore that determines what the next usage would be for that space. They have their own community kind of engagement process around looking at uses. I think there was a lot of good feedback in Reverend Herb. I don't want to. I think I'm Herbert Brown's.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't want to mess up his name, but I think it was a lot of thoughtful commentary in his remarks. And I know, like, I think about Samuel Morse, which was a school that belonged to us a few years back that we surplus and merged with Frederick. So the students are being served in the Frederick 21st Century School. But that Samuel Morse building is being used exactly in the ways that he's describing. And that went through a city process. It's being used as an incubator space. They do education with the youth, which is largely Black and Brown youth around, the culinary arts and running like a business. And I know some local businesses have actually picked up the products, like they were making like healthy fruits and nuts. So the ideas he have, I think there are people within city agencies that are willing to do those sorts of things, but they have to be in, I think the next step is for him and for members of the community that are interested in that, is to engage with the city around those processes. And we've seen it done with a variety of schools, buildings that we've surplus in terms of centering in community needs and creating other opportunities for community through that. So I think the city has shown some interest there, and I'm confident with Mayor Scott that will just grow. So.
Okay, thanks. Commissioner Sykes, I see you wanted to say something.
Yes, Commissioner McFadden had his hand raised before me.
Okay, okay, Commissioner, I'm sorry, Commissioner McFadden, I don't see you on my screen, but go ahead.
I was just wondering, to follow up, thank you, Commissioner Sykes, if we can, since Reverend Brown sent that via email, are we able to send a response that captures what Ms. Alvarez just said to him, so that he understands that process and that work? Certainly as a community partner, we want them to know what options are out there after, if it is the board's decision to surplus the building, what happens after that, and the process that Ms. Alvarez just laid out. I think more of our community members need to know that. So if we could respond to him via email, that would be my request.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely on my list once I heard the remarks. So absolutely, we'll definitely do that. And I guess the thing that people, members of the public, should know is when we do the community meetings on surplus buildings, the city actually sends representation to those meetings to talk about their process and give them direct contacts. They actually have a website that goes through their engagement. But we will definitely follow up directly with him. But I just wanted people to be aware of that. We do that in partnership.
Thanks a lot. Commissioner Sykes, go ahead.
Thank you. Ms. Alvarez, I just had a question regarding one of the schools within the area, Norfolk Elementary Middle School. Norfolk Elementary School. And if I'm not mistaken, Norfolk is one of the schools that will be going under reconstruction, if I'm not mistaken. And so my question is, with any of the schools left in that area, will any of those schools need to actually use the building to leave their building to get renovated or remodeled and go to another building or use another building as a swing space? Will we have to use that building? That's just a question I wanted to know before, we officially said that we're going to close the building down.
Yeah. So, and I see my colleague, Ms. Hellman, is also on the line, who leads the 21st century work. So there is definitely swing plans for every building that's under construction. And so we don't have a identified need for that facility for that work. We have other buildings that we'll use for that swing space. And Dorothy, I don't know if you want to add to give a deeper response there.
Angela, you're correct. Winston is not going to be needed for any future swing spaces.
But that's a good question.
Okay.
Like, that's something that we think about before we put forward a recommendation to surplus.
Okay.
Is Commissioner Sykes still on the call? I don't see him on
Yeah.
mine.
I'm here.
Sykes
Oh,
is-
okay. Did that answer your question?
It did. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. You have any others?
Okay.
No, I think that was the only one I had.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to say before we close out, I want to echo what Commissioner McFadden said, Angela, and that if there are any direct contacts, we can provide the pastor. Let's do that for the city representatives. That will be great.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Did I see Dr. Stewart? I'm not certain whether I see your hand up or.
I did. Yes. This is Nicole Stewart, Director of Facilities Planning and Real Estate. And so I wanted to just really echo what Angela mentioned in terms of our engagement with the City Planning Department, as well as the City Property Disposition Work Group that is managed by the Mayor's Office. And so when we do get requests from folks in the community who have questions around any surplus buildings, we do facilitate those conversations with the city agencies, and we make sure that they are put in contact. And when there are meetings around reuse, we do engage in those conversations and make sure. We just had an example just this week where we made sure that the city set up a community meeting about one of these potential surpluses, and then made sure anyone who we've engaged with on our side was invited to that to participate in those conversations.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from board members? Okay. If not, just a reminder that the comments can still be sent in. Please you can refer to the presentation with the information. I think you said by, what was it, March 5th?
March 5th. Yep,
Right?
by 5 p.m. March 5th. And we'll update. There's an error on the slide, but we'll fix that. So it's up by tomorrow, so people have that in plenty of time.
All right. And the board will be voting on this recommendation along with the postponed recommendation for the West Baltimore building at the March 9th public board meeting. Okay.
That's correct.
So if there are no other comments, then I want to thank everyone for joining us. I encourage you, if you have any feedback, to please send it in. And with that, we will adjourn this meeting and wish everyone a very safe and good night.
Good night,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you for being here.